Texas Governor Greg Abbott has been busing migrants coming into Texas via the southern border to Washington, D.C., among other things, to protest the Biden administration's decision to end Title 42. But the New York Times reports the plan isn't having quite its intended effect. One 26-year-old migrant told the Times, quote, "I'd like to say thank you to the governor of Texas." Joining us now, Abel Nunez, Executive Director of the Central American Resource Center. It's one of the groups helping those migrants arriving on buses from Texas. Abel, thank you so much for being with us. So how does it work when people arrive on the buses?
Well, the reality is that the buses just drop them off on the street in front of our train station, Union Station. And what we get information that the bus is on its way. We time it in terms of the amount of time it needs to get to Washington, D.C., and then we do a call out to volunteers to help them meet them. First of all, just to offer them accompaniment, right? To make sure that they're not just being left on the sidewalk to fend for themselves. And then we provide some intake, we provide some food, and then we help them get to their next destination, given that most are not staying in Washington, D.C.
And I mean, a lot of these folks have family, have already plans of where they will be going in the United States while they await their process, if they've requested asylum, et cetera. As of now, Title 42 is still in effect. It's scheduled, as you know of it, to lift on the 23rd of May, allowing more people into the country. Can the level of help you, for example, and your organization is giving out be maintained if there is an increase?
Well, I think the reality is that the Biden administration must support the organizations first in the border to make sure that the immigrants get the respite help that they need there and then be hopefully assisted to getting to their final destination. If Title 42 is lifted and we see an increase, in the current conditions, no, it's very difficult. One of the things that I want to make clear is that we're not coordinating with Governor Abbott, so we have to almost guess where the bus with intelligence that we get from Del Rio or the other centers, volunteers that let us know. If this was a much more planned activity, I think that we could do a much better job of supporting those immigrants. But because this is a political ploy by the governor, and I think that a very mean one, to use vulnerable populations to make a political point, because it's just abandoning them in Washington, D.C., and it is up to the local community, again, the local community to respond. This is not hurting Biden or the Biden administration. This is burdening Washington, D.C.'s over 900,000 citizens that live here that are trying to support and provide other services to its citizens.
Abel, you direct the Central American Resource Center. Talk to me a little bit about the situation that so many people who have fled their countries, taking these incredibly dangerous journeys through Mexico, just for the opportunity to ask for asylum and not being allowed to. What are the conditions that those people have been facing now and they're facing today?
Well, I mean, it's very difficult. What we're seeing in the buses are primarily people from Venezuela, from Nicaragua, from Cuba, even from Central African nations such as Angola and Congo. And you have to think about what their trajectory has been for people from Africa. They actually flew into Brazil, and some of them have walked all the way to the southern border just requesting protection and asylum from this nation. And I think that the U.S. has a responsibility to, at a minimum, hear their case, put in a good process. We understand that the system, it doesn't work as it should. We need to work to make it better. But Governor Abbott should not use vulnerable people to make a political point. I think he's being mean-spirited. But again, in Washington, D.C., we're going to do work to the best of our abilities to ensure that these people get a welcoming smile, some food in their stomachs, and then some sense of what their next move is. And if we can do that, we will continue to do that.